Okay, hello lovely people. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever it is that you're coming to see this. So if you remember last week, I was actually sitting down at a dining room table with Erna, and she watercolored this beautiful flower and I collaged it. So just a reminder, if you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and check the last video on our YouTube feed there if you'd like to see that. It's about a 45-minute lesson and you get a 2-in-1. Today I am sitting here alone at my dining room table, and Erna and I are doing a virtual play date, but we're doing again the same inspiration photo. So let's see, hopefully you can see that pretty well. It'll be in the template as well when you look at the template. So we are doing this little pot of flowers. She did a traditional watercolor, and I'm going to do a very loose, quick watercolor and then come in with some pens. So to show you what I have set up here, I have my watercolor palette. I actually do not have a purple watercolor, so I have to make it myself. So you'll see how I do that. I have my cup of water here. This is a wide brush that I'm going to use for some background, but I'll use mostly these two brushes, mostly this one. This is just around 8, and then this is a little tiny liner brush that I might use for a couple things. I have my watercolor palette with my colors already squeezed out. I have the inspiration photo, which I'm going to put right in the center there so that I can look at it at any time. I have a pencil in order to make a carbon copy of this, which is in the template and instructions, and you can go ahead and print it out. I printed it out at 150% size. And my watercolor book that I'm putting it in is a 7 by 10 inches. It is 140-pound cold pressed paper. So it'll take the water really well. It's nice and thick. And then I also have micron pens. So what I'm going to do is a relatively quick wash of the watercolor. And then I'm going to come in and add the detail with these watercolor pens. Erna is putting a video up on her page. I will include a link to that, and I'll also include it on my website. I'll include both of our videos. And so if you want to watch that one, she's doing a pure watercolor. She designed this template, traceable template. And what I'm going to do is actually the fast watercolor, then the pen and ink, and I am going to add a little bit of this background. I'm just going to add a splash of color in the background. That's why I have this wide brush here. And I might go ahead and add this little flower in here because I just like the composition, but I'm not going to do the glass bottles just in the interest of time. So hopefully we'll get through this in about a half an hour or so. I had thought a little bit about doing a cool Zentangle picture, but we'll save that for another project. We'll go and do some Zentangle stuff. For this one, I'm going to use just a loose style of the pen, just as I am with the watercolor. And it should be a project that you would be able to finish in a good half an hour. So very easy, simple. And again, I'm at my dining room table. I don't have any special studio space. You don't need a special studio space. You just need your tools. So let's get started, shall we? I'm gonna have a sip of my tea. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is you flip that template over, and we're gonna make this into a carbon copy paper, as opposed to actually buying carbon paper, which you certainly can buy at the store. This is a really simple way to do it. So I'm just taking my pencil, a regular old number 2 pencil, and scratching the lead on the back of the piece of paper. I'm not going to the edges because the drawing on the other side doesn't go to the edges. So I'm just kind of making sure that I cover every place that there is. the original drawing. You want a decent amount of lead on there so that when you do the tracing, it will actually show up. I tend to end up tracing sort of lightly, but so you won't likely see it in the video, the trace. But you'll definitely be able to see it on your own piece of paper. Okay, so I just noticed that you can kind of see if I lift it up, you can sort of see where it is behind. I just want to make sure you have it all covered. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it out on the page. I don't want to stick it right in the center. I want to do a little bit of a composition that adds some interest. Actually, if you look at the original too, they put it a little bit off to the side. That increases the visual interest and allows your eye to kind of skip around the page. So I'm going to set it a little bit to the side here. And what I'm going to do next is just trace over that template. And this will give me the guidelines for when I come back in with paint and ink. You can tape it down to your paper with the blue painter's tape if you like. And do that. I'm just holding it down really well. I'm not going to do the polka dots because I'm going to do something a little bit different with the pen, but I am going to actually look at this, and instead what I'm going to do is sort of scribble out just where there's a bit of a shadow. Just for some interesting weight when I come back. Oops. Well, I'll have to erase that on the other side. But I actually just want my shadow to kind of come down here. So I'll erase that middle section there. And then here we go. Just really quick. This is just to give me an idea of where these flowers are going to go. I'm doing squiggly, scribbly lines, but I'm not worried about exactly getting the lines of this template because it's just to give me an idea of where to paint. Squiggly, squiggly, squiggly. Not sure exactly what kind of flowers these are. They actually look like they could be another zinnia, but a grouping of them. Last week we did a close-up of an orangish red one. Well, that was originally meant to be some more greenery, but that's okay. We'll just turn it into we'll just turn it into another flower. Now I'm just kind of loosely putting in some stems. Most of this work is going to be done with my pen later, but it gives me an idea. And I'm actually going to add, if we look in the picture, you can see down at the bottom, it's actually just kind of a huge mess of green. So I'm going to give myself an idea of where that is just by adding this squiggly line. So I know that's not a flower, that's just kind of my mess of green. And that should be it. I've traced all my lines, so I'm going to pull that off. Whew, it's very light, but it's all right. We'll be able to see it okay. I will be able to see it okay. You will want to use you might want to retrace it if you did. Mostly it actually scratched. I think it's because I'm using a dollar store pencil. Might not actually be number 2 lead. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and erase that little section where there was not meant to be shadow. And now that I have traced these guys, I know about the size and the squiggly line that I want to do for tracing. And so I'm going to go ahead and add that laying down flower here and put the stem there. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to add just make that stem a little bit shorter. I'm going to go ahead and add, I'm going to ground this. So I'm going to add the tabletop or whatever it is that it's sitting on, just a horizontal line. I want it to extend above the pot because my pot is not going to be all the way at the end of the line. Of the table. It's up against the edge, so it's near the wall, but it's not actually going to be sitting on the edge. So whenever you're making something on a table or on a space, you want to make sure that you're not just extending that line of the floor or the table or whatever directly there. You want it to be a little bit behind. And that's all I'm going to do in terms of the pencil. Let's make sure I can kind of see these actually. I am going to go over them just a little bit so that I can see them better. Ooh, just really quick, really loose. I like to work really loose. It makes me happy. Feels freeing. It's a really enjoyable way to create. Okay, gives me a better idea for when I want to come in with my watercolor. And if I want to add more flowers, I can do that. All right. So there we are. So I'm going to set this up here now. And I'm going to take my wide brush out of the water. That was another sip of tea. And then we are ready to paint. All right. So to do most of this painting, I'm going to use the number 8 round brush. The only reason I haven't taken this off is because I don't want my brush to feel sticky. So, I don't know. They still have their tags on them. Eventually it might fall off. So I am wetting my brush, and I had actually already mixed some purple from a previous painting in here, but just in case, I'll show you guys what I do. So I'm going to add pick up some red. These palettes are great for mixing when you don't have color. You can do so many gradients just by adding a touch of this, a touch of that. You guys can see over here in a previous project that I was doing, I was playing with a lot of different shades of browns for different skin hues, and those were all created using just these colors. So you don't need a lot of watercolor paints if you are willing and open to mixing your own colors. Make enough that you'll be able, whenever you want to, you'll be painting quite a bit with a color, go ahead and make a large amount of it, because it is hard to get that exact balance right. Although it's not really a problem if you don't, because then you just have different hues. But if you know it, you have to have a large space that is a singular color. Go ahead and mix a large amount. So I'm just adding, I'm doing this kind of by what I like the feeling of. I'm adding more red or more blue according to what makes me happy. I think I'll add a little more blue. That's a little too red. And you'll notice too here that I actually have, in this space, I now have several purples that I can pick up just based on how I've mixed it. So I have over here, in this corner I have a more bluish purple. Here I have a more reddish purple, one more in the middle. If I were to add yellow, I would make brown. So I'm not going to do that. Okay, so I'm just dipping and drying my brush a little bit. Get these out of the way. And I'm gonna go ahead and start painting. So I'm gonna pick up some color, and I'm doing just kind of a messy tap, 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 tap. Pick up some more, and I am just going to do this on all of my flowers. So all those little blobs of flowers. It's just super quick, telling myself where these flowers are. Notice I'm not really concerned about exactly following the pencil lines. You hear quiet footsteps. My kids are off school today, so they have said they may make a little appearance. They might video bomb us. We'll see. I hear more footsteps. You could put your head under and say hello. You can if you want to. And notice I haven't had to pick up any more water yet since I started painting, because I had quite a bit of water in the mix. I was using a lot of water to pick up the colors and move them on the palette. So, and already we have a sense of these flowers. Make sure I get my little one lying on the ground here. I really like this because it's just kind of a nice light wash, and it's fun. Now I'm gonna come in and do another layer of just a few more dots in there. And I like this because one of the nice things about watercolor, something that is hard to get used to if you're coming from a different artistic background, but it's really nice once you know how to play with it, is that I can see each layer. So it's a bit transparent. It's quite transparent depending on how much water I have. And I like that I can kind of see the history of the painting. I like that I can see what's behind it all. It kind of doesn't hide anything. I'm going to make a little bit more mix of color. At the same time, even though it doesn't hide anything, there are ways to fix things that you don't like. But it takes some getting used to. Too much water on that brush. I'm embrace the medium and run with it, because if you have a different idea than your medium does, you're not going to be very happy with your painting or whatever you're creating, and it's not going to be very happy working with you. So notice that because I've picked up this purple from different places on the palette, I have some depth in the color of my flowers, from more reddish to more bluish. Actually, add a few just touches of red right in there. And again, it's just touch, touch, touch. Coming back to any places that have more than I might want. And I'm going to add some blue too. So I'm kind of using the red wherever I see actually the highlights there. And I'm going to do more blue where my flowers are in the shadow. That's very blue. I'm just going to do more of a bluish purple. So it's not quite as obviously blue. Down towards the bottom of that one. Being really liberal along the edges here with going out. I want an idea of those petals without being too obvious about them. So adding more blue shadow would be. Really, I'm doing more than I need to, considering I'm going to be adding the ink. But it's so fun. Okay, that is it with my purple. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to my actual pot. And for that, I'm going to do mostly some white. But I'm going to put it right over here. Close to my purple. And that way I can pick up just ever so slightly some purple to give my vase a very light wash. Picking up from that white area there. I just want it to not quite look like the rest of the paper at this point. And when I need to get close to an edge, I point at it with the tip of my brush. I flip my paper all around. Okay, need a little bit more water. candle. Definitely did more of an indent than a trace on this. Okay, so that is, I don't know if you guys can see it very well, but that is my first layer for my vase. And then I will come back and add the shadow later. I will rinse off my brush. And now I want to do some stems. I have some green on my palette that I've already kind of mixed up. And what I did was I put some green, some brown, maybe a little bit of yellow, and a little bit of like a turquoise-ish blue. And ended up with this. So I'm going to go ahead and use that because I have it. And I am just making very loose stems, going up to my flower and drawing down the stem. I'm not worried about whether it reaches the bottom of the page or not. I'm not worried about making sure that all of those greens are equal. I want to just get a few lines down. And I'm going to add some leaves, just kind of flicking my brush out. Just below the flowers, some of them, the ones that are really on their side, a little bit of extra green. It's kind of holding all of the petals in place, but the ones that are facing the camera, or yeah, facing where the camera would be, are not going to have that extra bit because it's hidden behind the flower. Okay. And then I'm going to come in and add just kind of that mess of green that I had here. So I went down to my vase before because that gave the flowers a chance to dry. So that they wouldn't run into all of this. And I'm just adding some flicks here, some general leafiness. I'm looking at the picture and I can see that there are some more leaves kind of going off. Side. Right down at the bottom, I have a pretty dark green. I'm gonna come in with that. Actually, one thing I missed was this flower here. So I think that flower will help, you know, hide a lot of what's happening with that green. So I'm going to let it dry and then I'm going to come back in and add one more flower there. In the meantime, let's add a little bit more shading to our vase. Picking up a little bit more of that purple. And I'm going to follow the line that I had drawn to tell myself where the shadow was. I'm just adding a light wash here, not a lot. See where I touched the green there, they started to kind of bleed into each other. Oh well, I don't mind. Let's see, a little bit more shadow, parts of shadow there. And I have some shadow coming in here. A little bit. I actually don't know if these are shadows or dirt on this picture, but it looks kind of old and beautiful in its imperfections. So I'm just trying to give it a sense of that. Add a little bit more here. Probably more imperfection than shadow if I'm looking at really the way that these fall. Except over here, it's definitely shadow on the handle. You can see that white coming in here. There we go. Okay. Now, I'm going to add that flower because I want to have something in here. It's going to be a bit messy because I am adding it over my greenery. So you'll see a bit of the green through it, but with paint, with the pen, I'll be able to take care of that. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to paint my wall and my base with a very light wash. I'm trying to decide what I want. So I'll get this. I could use kind of a yellow, which would really make that purple pop. I like the cool colors in this with the purple and the green and the blue. I think they're really lovely. But I think for this, I'm going to mix it up and I'm going to make a yellow background just to be a little bit more vibrant. But I'm going to, I do like the kind of teal color down here. So I'm going to do just a really light wash of a bit of this green. It's kind of like sea green mixed with a bit of this blue. Add a bit more of the green. Okay, I like that. This, you can see, is like wood. So I'm going to do horizontal brush strokes. I'm actually going to do them vertically, so I'm going to turn my paper around. And I want kind of a lot of water. I want this to be very light. I'm going to avoid my flower in my vase as I do this. Oops, wrong blue. Whoa, I don't need a bright color. There we go. Okay. If I have plenty of water, it's not going to get too terribly dark. And I'll be able to come in with the pen and make some of those kind of wooden lines. I want to get up to the flower but not cover it. Same thing with the base. So I'm just using the edge of the brush where I need to. later with the side to add some of those more grainy looks, wood grain. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna put my line up a tiny bit from where I had it before, because of where I ended the stem of that flower. I just feel like it needs to come up a little bit higher. And right now I still have that pencil line because I wasn't tracing it, so you can see it better. But I'll deal with that. Okay, background. Again with my big brush. And this I'm just going to be super loose. I'm just going to make patches of color actually, because I don't think I want my wall to be totally solid. I just want to give it an idea of what's there. A little bit in between my flowers, because obviously I would be able to see the wall through it. And I'm just kind of going in an X pattern. Hello. Doo-doo-doo. A little bit more just to really make those flowers pop. Make sure I get my yellow inside here. And this one I'm just using the pure yellow color. Okay. So I pretty much have yellow most places, but I've applied it haphazardly, so it's uneven. I'm going to come back to that purple flower that I added later. Add another layer of purple. It's not super happy because it has the green behind it. It's okay. A little bit of pen work can resolve a multitude of issues. It's a bit muddy. That's because of that green. There. Okay. Got it way too wet, so I'm just going to dab it a bit. There. Took off most of the color, so I'm going to come back in. I really should be waiting for this to dry for it to work best, but whatever. Okay. I'm going to come back with my round brush. And I'm going to add just a bit. Oops, actually, the light source is coming from this side, obviously, because I said the handle was there, so I'm going to add some shadow over here, just with another bit of that blue that I used. And some shadow for her flower. Just kind of blend it out so it's not too terribly obvious. Okay, that's it. I am going to stop myself from doing any more because it's supposed to be a quick pencil or quick watercolor. I ended up taking a while. I'm going to pause the video, so I'm going to let this dry a little bit, and then I'm going to come back in and do the pen and ink. So I'm just pausing it for about 15 minutes until it's not cool to the touch. Right now it's still cool to the touch, which means it's wet. Okay, I am back. I'm done with my watercolor, so I'm going to put that away. I'm going to put my water away, my brushes away. That's it for that. I'm going to keep my papers here. And I love the Pigma Micron pens, which are made by Sakura of America. It's an archival quality pen. It goes really well on top of a lot of things. And they're just a really good pen. They have a lot of different sizes. My favorite size is the .005, which is a super fine line, and from what I understand, they have an even smaller one now. I think it's like a .003 or something, which I have not picked up yet, but that is a 0.20 millimeter line, so really fine line. But I'm going to be going a little bit quicker, so I'm going to use the 01, which is a 0.25 millimeter line. It's still really thin. I might come in with some of the others in a bit, but we shall see. So I'm going to use this very loosely just to add some different types of shading, some things like that. So you can see I love, love, love a good scribble. I'm going to add some of those lines through here, some of my wood lines. Okay. I'm going to sort of outline the vase, but I don't want to outline the whole thing. I just want to outline kind of some of the more important areas where there would be shadow and shading. So that might come in later with that other one. Okay. And I'm gonna basically, where there's a stem, I want to add shadow. So I'm doing that. Okay. And then, if I look at these flowers, one of the things I really like about them is that they have this dark center in the middle. So I'm going to just go ahead and add that with my pen. Anywhere I would see one. I won't see it in the ones that I have the side, but I would see some shadow. I'm going to go ahead and add some shadow. This one I'm going to pretend like I can see the center. Obviously I can't. But add a center to that one. Add a center to this one. And just kind of anywhere I would see shadow. Be very loose with my pen here. Getting kind of an idea of the old scratchiness of this vase. Sometimes it's fun to go a little bit outside of where your color area is. Just to give an idea. Oh, this one needs some. And I'm going to come back in a little bit with my little mini one, just to add a little bit of line work. Those shadows. And then I think to finish it off, what I want to do is, it's a bit small on the page, so I'm going to use this. Make sure I'm covering up all my purple stuff. I'm going to use a thicker micron. And I'm going to go just kind of along the outside of this paper. I'm going to frame it. Come back around. And that gives me just kind of an actual space to look at. It ties it together a bit. And then up here I can write whatever I want to write. So let's put purple flowers, study with Erna and Alana. And I'll just make a little thing there. Add my thing, and we have week 2. There we go. Ta-da! Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're enjoying these videos. Definitely check out Erna's as well, and check out what we did last week for this collage. So 2 different flowers, and now you have 4 ways to create. See you next time.